Hello, everybody. Um, Welcome to DesignChat. This is a new sort of interface for us, so we're going to hang out for a couple minutes while other people filter in and say hello. So if you're in the chat room, which I'm just opening right now, say hi in the chat room. Let us know where you're at and who you are and where you're from. A lot of times, Sean, I'll just say, give us your Twitter handle. And the screen just goes nuts. It's like, you can't even read it because it's going so fast.
I can't read anyway, so it's okay.
I can't read. Argentina. Cool. Yeah, we get people from all over the place. We've had Australia, we've had China, we've had England, Brazil, a lot of Brazil. Oh, that was a question I was going to ask you. Did you see the post that went on Abdezito on Monday morning? Are you familiar with Abdezito?
What was it about? No,
Abdezito is a.
I might be. I'm brain dead.
It's a design sort of inspiration and tutorial blog, and it was started by this guy Fabio Sasso from Brazil, and they had a record month last month. They had 2.5 million hits on that site, unique visitors.
Wow. Yeah,
and he's a fan of the show. He's been on a couple times. And he said, you know what, you should do a weekly post. So Monday was the first one, and the idea is on Monday mornings we're going to announce the guest and sort of start the conversation. That post also goes up on DesignChat. And so then that builds up conversation from Monday to Wednesday to the actual event.
That is great. I'll have to check it out. It sounds fantastic.
Yeah, they're very active on there. The community, not so much. I mean, they get like 8 or 10 comments per post, but the content that goes on there is really inspiring, especially I think for young designers and people who are just getting into it. There's a lot of Photoshop tutorials and that sort of thing, a lot of glitz and flashy images and that sort of thing.
And that comes out of Buenos Aires?
Brazil.
Oh, Brazil. Oh, fantastic.
We are climbing. We're at 18 viewers now, so I'm just going to do the intro. You ready?
Yeah, go ahead.
Our screen capture's going. Yes, everything's good. Thumbs up from production. All right. So, hello and welcome to DesignChat, the best live design discussion on the internet. I'm your host, Ryan McGovern. On Twitter, I'm at Hoopajube and at DesignChat. Every week, we get together with the design community and bring some of the coolest people from around the world and around the U.S. in design so you guys can have a one-on-one conversation with them. And today, we have Sean Adams from AdamsMorioka. Golf clap. Welcome, Sean Adams. Yay!
Thank you.
How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. But I don't know why you did, since you have cool people. Someone's made a terrible mistake.
Oh, somebody sent me a wrong note. No, come on, you are very cool. Get out of town. All anybody has to do is do a quick search on Sean Adams and Adams Morioka, and they know you are a cool person. Come on now.
Well, okay, yeah, they're just, done a lot of bad things, but that's it,
You're killing me, man. You're killing me. No, you've done a lot of good things. You've done a lot of really great things. A lot of great work that we can talk about tonight. I say this a lot whenever I have somebody on, who's accomplished as much as you have. I don't know where to begin almost, it's so crazy when you start digging through the work, just the breadth of what AdamsMorioka has achieved and things that you guys have done over the years. So I don't know, let's just dig into it. I got to tell you, one of the ones I keep on going back to, I'm not totally sure why. It's the type that was done on it. It's the, I think it was called the Annenberg Beach House. Can we find a community beach house?
Yeah.
And there's white type on the side, and it was if you guys saw the blog post, it was an image that we included in there. And then there's multiple colors on the edges. It's 3-dimensional type coming off the building, and there's multiple colors on the edges of this type. And it's one of those things where immediately I put myself in the shoes of the designer. We've got to put type on the side of the building. It's got to fit in this community. It's got to reflect their needs and desires. And you start thinking about type and how it's going to look. But I kept on going back to myself and thinking, I don't know if I ever would have come up with the idea of having a white type, clean type, and letting the color reflect off of each other on the side. It's absolutely beautiful.
Oh, thank you, thank you. I appreciate it. It's it you know go. It's an interesting project. The beach house was, and I'll try not to bore everyone with this forever, but back in the 30s, it was an estate that William Randolph Hearst built for Marion Davies. And it was this gigantic sort of southern plantation that he built right on the beach for. Over the years, it sort of fell down, fell apart, and at one point, the Jewish community built their own version of a beach club at the same site because there was another club up PCH that was restricted. So they were like, well, we'll just build our own. So they built their own great little beach club. And the beach club is sort of like, if you ever watch Beverly Hills 90210, remember there was that whole season where the guys worked at that, faux beach club. That's the place next door. So
oh, no kidding.
They yeah, no, it's like they cost a fortune. I'm like, just go to the beach. I mean, come on, So the thing was falling down, and they were gonna tear it apart. But Wallace Annenberg came on board and said, I'll donate, I think it was like $30 million to the state if you'll build a new beach house, but a community beach house, one that anyone can use, anyone in the public. So we had to kind of walk this line of going sort of between a nice, refined beach house, but also something fun that anybody in the community could go to. So but it was a great project. It's beautiful. I mean, the swimming pool still has original Julian Morgan tiles in it, and it's just it's an amazing space. You go down there, you're like, yeah, I need a lot of money. This is nice. It's be cool to hang out at.
So let me back up for just a second. Forgot to mention that we are broadcasting from Samata Mason. Check them out, SamataMason.com. Very cool design agency in West Dundee, Illinois. Thank you to Samata Mason for letting us do that. And happy birthday to Greg Samata. Today's his birthday. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Greg.
And so this is a new sort of interface for us tonight, and you're going to see some, if you've been here before, you're going to see some different interactions. We are going to do a Q&A at the end of the chat with Sean. You guys can ask questions. In fact, you can ask questions throughout the whole chat. In the upper right-hand corner, you should see a button that says Submit a Question, and you can either submit a text question or you can submit a video question. And so if you submit a text question, we'll take it and we'll click yes, and then your text will actually show up on the screen. Or if you submit a video question, you type in give me an idea of what you're going to ask, and then I'll hit submit, and you will actually be broadcasting video live with us right now, and you can ask your question one-on-one. And this is something I'm really excited about in doing DesignChat, is that for us it's all about communication, right? We're all working in these silos in our agencies or freelance, or we'll only be at an agency for a week or something like that, or small shops or in-house, whatever you do. And our communication is pretty limited, so that once a week we can come together and talk about design, talk about our passions, the things we love, and meet really cool people like Sean Adams. So on that note, we'll keep on going. One of the first things I usually ask Sean is, for anybody who's not familiar with you or Adams Morioka, give us a brief history on who you are, what you do, and why you do it.
Let's see. Brief history. So I have a partner, Noreen Morioka, and she and I met in college, and we, I think we became friends because we were the only people that actually used the CalArts tennis courts to play tennis. Everyone else used it to get stoned. So we pretty much hung out together, and she went to Tokyo after graduating, and I went to New York. We both ended up back in Los Angeles around the same time, and we both were working down at April Greiman Incorporated with April, and loved it, had a fantastic time, and I think we were there for about 5 years. And we sort of found ourselves going to Disneyland on the weekends and complaining about the state of graphic design all the time. Like, oh, I hated that piece, didn't you? Oh yeah, I hated it. Oh, I hate that poster. I hate that poster. And I said, okay, we are so chicken shit. Okay, we can sit here and complain, or we can do it ourselves. So we got to bite the bullet, take what we believe in, and start our own company. And so we did. I think we were, I remember sort of specifically being in Tomorrowland at the time, and that we made that decision to start Adams Morioka. And
how appropriate.
We It was. It was like, yeah, better that than, like Yesterdayland or something. And we said, okay, well, what do we believe in? And at the time, this is sort of the mid '90s, and design, if you remember, was, well, you don't, you're too young, but other people will remember that
I'm
it was
not that
very
young.
chaotic. And so there was, all that chaos and degenerated sort of typography, and lots of overkill, like thousands of varnishes, thousands of colors, thousands, it was just more and more and more and more. And we just said, this is reprehensible. I don't understand anything. There's children starving in the world. Maybe we shouldn't be so, it shouldn't be so baroque in terms of how much stuff is out there. So we said, let's start a company and we'll base it on the ideas of clarity and purity and resonance. And just stick to those ideas and do work that's accessible to everyone, not just 5 people that go to a gallery, but to someone like my mother, and work for companies that we respect, and work with people we respect, and do it in a simple way that doesn't rely on thousands of varnishes, but actually might rely on an idea. So we started the company then, and we were really fortunate. Things came together pretty quickly, and since then we've just been plugging away. We work for a lot of different clients. For a while, it was a lot of television networks like Nickelodeon or Oxygen, Nick at Night, Spike, ABC, and we work a lot with educational institutions, UCLA, USC, the Curtis Institute of Music in Philadelphia, and right now we're working with a couple of big clients that we're not allowed to name, of course, and we work with Disney, which is nice.
I won't tell anybody. Go ahead. Nobody will know.
It's okay, right? No one will know, right? And it just, but we're standard issue design firm. A little bit of identity, a little bit of web work, a little bit of signage. Just we've always got our hands in something, and just trying to sort of keep things along. We just finished the identity for the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, and that was a lot of fun. We were able to drag Doyle Young in on that project, and Doyle's a genius, and it felt great to actually have Doyle in there. So we did that, and does that sort of give the extraordinarily boring history?
Totally. Tell us a little bit about the early days, like the struggle of the first 6 months of, okay, we've decided to do this. Now we're actually sitting in the same room together every day, and we need to start promoting ourselves, and how are we going to survive? How are we going to put food on our table? And all the worries and fears, and how did you relinquish them and move on and actually turn it into a day-to-day business?
That's a great question. That's I mean, strangely enough, no one's ever asked that, and that is a really good question.
Oh, well, good. It's great.
That's a good one, because it was terrifying, and I remember before we had made that decision in Tomorrowland, and then we had to sort of face the reality. I have to, okay, I've got to go back until April. Look, I'm going to leave. Maria and I are going to start our own company, and then how's this going to work? And I remember talking to an old friend of ours who was Robert Miles Runyon, who was a great designer here in LA for many years, sort of invented the annual report. And Bob Runyon said, look, you're an entrepreneur or you're not. That's all there is to it. There is never a good time to start a design firm. It's the same as there's never a good time to get pregnant. There's never going to be the perfect time. So either you can work with someone or for someone and you like that, or you can't. And either are valid. So we're like, well, I guess we have to be entrepreneurs. And so we started up. We found, we originally thought we'll just work out of my kitchen. But a good friend of ours who was an architect said he had taken too much space for his firm, so did we want to sublet a little bit of space from him? And we explained, hey, we're just starting out. I'm worried about the rent, and he said, I'll trade you in work. You help me out with my projects and sort of getting my proposals together, and we'll do it that way. So that was great to have an actual office space and a conference room and things like that. And we didn't have any work to promote ourselves. Exactly, where and the great thing was that the clients didn't know where we ended and they began. So it was sort of like you didn't really want to tell people, yeah, there's only 3 of us because there's 40 other people sitting out there. But
Oh, okay. Yeah.
it worked well. And I mean, and to this day, I mean, Barton Meyer's like he's our hero. He started us off. Um, we didn't have any work really at that point to promote ourselves with. So I remember the first thing we did was send out a postcard to anyone who was a prospective client or other people in the design community. And it was just a picture of Noreen and myself because we didn't have work and that we could show. So we did that, and for whatever reason, it hit a nerve. And some people absolutely loved it and thought it was fantastic, and other people were like, "I hate your guts, like so much. Who the hell do you think you are?" And it wasn't
But that's
had
like the
nothing to
risk
do
you
with
take,
ego.
isn't
It was. It's a risky take, yeah, and it was really just dumb stupidity that we were like, I didn't know you weren't supposed to use yourself on a postcard. Who knew? Like, no one told me that. And it's Hollywood. Of course, that's what we're gonna do. And so,
Yeah.
so we were really lucky, and I think we our message hit at a time when I think the design world was really ready for a change, away from a lot of the chaos and oblique messaging, and so I don't know. I mean, I know luck. People say luck isn't really true. It's all hard work. But so much of it, I think, I look back and I say, wow. I mean, I was just lucky to be in the same room at the same time when somebody said, "Could you speak at the Aspen conference?" Or it's stuff like that. But we did learn that notoriety had a double-edged sword, which we hadn't anticipated at the beginning. We sort of thought, oh yeah, well, cool, yeah, we're getting known. Oh, so and so did a magazine article on us. Oh, that's totally groovy. And it
So what's
wasn't
the
until
bad
we
side
started
of
getting
that? Like,
hate
how
mail.
bad did it actually get?
It never got that bad, but
mail?
you know how it is. Like, yeah, we got every once in a while someone would sort of throw something your way, and you never, of course, you don't remember any of the good stuff, right? You never think of all the times someone said, "Wow, I love that project," or "You did a great job with this." You only think about the hate mail. And I remember we got one that basically was a pasted together ransom note, and these people just went on and on about how shallow we were and embarrassing to the profession and stuff like that. And I actually kept thinking, I can't believe someone has this much time that they could piece together this whole note. I mean, this is a long letter in cut up type, and what a corny, cliched idea. So, stuff like that. So we sort of was like, gee, for all those people out there that really like you, there's going to be people out there that really don't like you. And
why didn't that happen
like,
at a time where we're dealing with social community and where you could have scanned it and put it on your blog or posted it on Facebook or tweeted it and said, "Look at this idiot! Somebody fess up!"
Who did it?
Come talk
I want to
to
know.
us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That would have been so much nicer, than, and when it was addressed to Noreen, and so we of course hid it from her because I was like, we don't want to. This will totally ruin her day. It'll hurt her feelings badly, because she's human. It's like, yeah, you can say, oh, big deal. I don't know these people, and what's their problem? But at the same time, you're a human being. It's something like that hurts, and so we saved it because I said, let's save it for a day that she's really having a bad day, then pull it out because that's the best time. You kick a dog when it's down.
Just to reiterate, I'm seeing a lot of people jump in. We're at 50, 52 right now. So we're using a new interface called Vocal. If you want to ask questions, there's a button on the upper right-hand corner, submit a question. You can either submit a text question, and then your text will pop up on the screen later when we do the Q&A, or you can submit a video question, and you kind of tell us the idea of what you're going to ask, and we're going to put you on video live, and you can come on and ask your question one-on-one. So very exciting tonight. I hope some of you guys take advantage of that and jump on screen and get involved. So, all right, let's move on and talk about your, speaking of community, involvement with AIGA on your local and the national level. A very sort of exciting idea that you participated on both of those levels, and kind of what your perspective is right now on how those things are going to change. The idea of design community as all these social media outlets start breaking out.
You got good questions. Wow, who knew? Like that's another really good one.
Thank you.
I mean, usually I just get the questions like, who cuts your hair?
What's your favorite typeface?
It's nice ones. Yeah, what's your favorite typeface? And, you know, do you like blue?
Yeah.
You know, stuff like that. Someone actually did once ask me once, what color is PMS 318? Like it was a quiz. I'm like, okay.
Like they're quizzing you?
Those, but yeah, I mean,
I can't
quiz
take
on
credit for
PMS
it. It's
numbers.
the Guinness. It's the Guinness that does it. It's my
Okay, right. That's
power.
good. Okay. Okay, so the question. Oh, AIJ. Right. Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't remember a time when I wasn't involved with AIGA. I think I started when I was in college, and even if it was, I think back then, sitting at the desk where you take tickets for events, but I loved it because I got to meet everybody in town and really got to know what was going on, and you know, and no one was like snobby or weird or anything. Everyone was just like, hey, you know, I mean, I figured on early on, they're just as scared as you are. And, you know, I could walk up to Saul Bass and say, Saul, I've always admired you. And he's like, thank God someone's talking to me. No one's talking to me, you know, and became a great friend and like a huge buddy that was enormously helpful in my life. So, you know, I've been involved with it for a long time. And then when I was asked to take on the presidency, you know, I knew it was a big time commitment. You know, I'm like, wow, this is 2 years, 3 years, considering the time that you spend an extra year on the board. Do I want to give that much of a commitment to the profession? And I think service is just sort of built into my blood. So I just thought, yeah, of course, it's what you do. You give back. And
Sure.
it was the best time. I wouldn't say it's the best time of my life. It wasn't. I don't want to sound. It was like an endless cruise. It was the most meaningful time in my life. That it was. It was a remarkable experience that I feel so lucky that I had. That, you know, I mean, people would say, wow, you're giving so much time, you're giving so much energy. It's, you know, I know it's costing you a lot of money to do this, but I'm like, I am doing so little in return for what I'm getting from everybody. But I mean, just a chance to go out and visit people across the country and sort of, you know, go to Seattle and see what's being done up there and who's doing really cool stuff. Or, you know, going to Chicago and visiting with Pat and Greg, or going and seeing Dana and seeing what they're working on, and you know, all little towns in the middle of nowhere where you meet these designers doing really great things, and I got an incredible sense of the breadth of work that's happening out there, and really how many buried treasures there are, how many incredible people are doing remarkable work. And, you know, for whatever reason, they just would rather do that than get published or, you know, be out there too much. And you're like, wow, this is, I mean, someone said to me recently, oh, there's nothing happening in American design. It's all in Europe. And I was like, I am going to slug the out of you, okay? That is so not true. I see such great stuff here. And I really think that there's just amazing work.
I love it when design comes to fisticuffs, you know, when people get
I like
so
that too.
mad about it. They're willing to trade punches.
You put down American design, yeah, I'm coming after you. And unfortunately, the person was Marion Banshees, and I really didn't want to slug Marion because I do love her, you know, so decided not to do that. But, and it looks bad.
So is there like an AIGA Air Force
guy,
One as the president you get to fly around on, and you like show up in the town and you get to do the parade? Yeah. Yeah,
no, unfortunately, no. You're, you know, you get to go to the airport, to sit at the airport for hours and wait for airplanes and, you know, wait for missed airplanes. I think last year I logged 95,000 miles. And,
oh my goodness.
You know, you're just like, okay, get on. I mean, you're at the airport every single week. And no, so unfortunately, there is no salary. There is no reimbursement for travel. You're just out there doing it. You know, chapters are always kind enough, you know, to sort of throw some cash towards the travel and everything. And you know, but they're all struggling. So you sort of say like, well, you know, whatever you can do, don't worry about it.
How did that affect AdamsMorioka on, you know, on the business level? I'm sure it brought some good publicity within the design world and that sort of thing. But how do you think that it affected your clients and how they view AdamsMorioka?
You know, I don't know about clients because, you know, I think it did have an impact in terms of how potential or new clients now deal with us. That it seemed like we did get a little bit of gravity out of it. That, you know, it became it became a little less, oh, they're just nincompoops and they surf every day, into, wow, they might actually be thinking in there. And there might be someone, there might be something going on there. In terms of business and creative, it was incredibly damaging. It was the worst year of our professional lives, creatively
Wow.
and financially, was the last year that I did this. I wouldn't trade it. It was a sacrifice we knew going in we were going to have to make. And Noreen was obviously kind enough to say, yes, this is bigger than just our revenue for the year. This is about the community, and it's a critical time. The problem, like you brought up, is this issue, this issue of social networking, and as the profession is fracturing, it's so easy for it to simply tribalize and become lots and lots of little tribes. But the problem with lots and lots of little tribes is they have very little power, and it's easy to pick them off. And if there's ever been a time that the profession that has to hold together as a whole and find the things that unite us, this is the time. We want a seat at the big table. Well, it's not going to happen if it's like the tiny little group of like type designers, and it's a tiny little group of web designers, and it's a tiny group of print designers. We're just designers, period. And and so it really became important for me to get out there and work to make that happen, and to keep AIJ strong as a unifying force.
And I think this is a really exciting time for that to happen for us as designers, as we unite and we come together online and make use of all these new tools that we have to communicate and share and interact like we're doing tonight. I think that's going to strengthen the idea of design and what a profession is outside of our walls and outside of our little communities and our little groups who get picked off and form and fall off and come and go and that sort of thing. And I think it's a very exciting time to be involved in it. Yeah.
I was talking to a friend over the weekend, and she said, she's not a designer, but she goes to my blog all the time, and she's like, one of my most faithful viewers. And she said, I was talking to my therapist about your blog, and I said, you've got to go to Burning Settler's Cabin. It's totally cool. And she said the next time she saw him, he said, oh, I went and saw that blog. I love it. I told 10 of my friends. So I love the fact that, my blog's about design in the end. And so now there's like therapists and, a bunch of his non-design friends checking it out and sort of saying, hey, I didn't know that's what this was about. Oh, really? Someone actually designed that? It didn't just happen from a machine?
I'm so glad you brought that up, because I totally want to talk about your blog, and the work that you're doing there is so interesting to me. Number one question about it, of course, is the name, Burning Settlers. Every time I read that and I see the logo, I see people running out of a ship into the land and on fire, and they're screaming.
On fire,
they're trying to settle their land at the same time. So first tell us about the name.
Well, I do love the fact that the name can be taken both ways, that it's either burning settlers, as in flaming settlers running around a cabin, or settlers in a burning cabin, that you're not sure which one it is. The name came about because, and it's you have to come up with a name for your blog. It's like, oh, what domain name hasn't been taken yet? What can I get?
Right.
We were working at the time on a project for Disney XD, which is a network, and we had done a naming exercise with them. And at one point, I had gone through and we'd researched every single name in the Disney vocabulary, like everything from Disney's Grand Floridian Resort and Spa to the Enchanted Tiki Room. So every single name we could come up with, we basically built a dictionary, and just to get a sense of like, were there trends? Did we want to pick up on any of those? Did we want to, we didn't want to take something that already existed. And one of them that I love, the only thing that wasn't an actual proper name, was Burning Settler's Cabin, which is on the side of the rivers of America in Frontierland. And I love that it was like, it's not even a thing. I mean, it's not like Sleeping Beauty Castle or or Pirates of the Caribbean. It's just a description, Burning Settler's Cabin. And there's something about it that I really like, and I love the idea that you thought about burning settlers running around a cornfield or something. That appealed to me as well. So, but I don't think I never tell anyone that. I'm always like, whatever you want it to be. But that's where it came from. This is my naming exercise.
And the next part of that I'm curious about is the content that you're putting up there. I've read a number of the most recent posts, and I've caught it from time to time over the last 2 years. I'm not sure if it's a recent trend or if it's definitely a focus of yours, but it seems more and more that I read it that you are sort of a historian of 40s and 50s sort of pop culture and that sort of thing, and that you're very good at relating ideas from today and things we're experiencing today to the stars of the past and things that were happening in the 40s and 50s and 60s. And I want to know, is that a passion of yours? I mean, not is that, I mean, obviously it is, but is that sort of a focus for you, and like what your thoughts are on why you're using that to translate ideas of design on your blog?
Yeah, I'm going to write these questions down and use them on someone else because they're really good. I'll just pretend that I made them up myself. You know, there's that old saying, you know,
It's
take,
fine, go
take
ahead, man.
credit,
Cool.
blame others, deny everything, which I do.
As long as you link back to the website in the chat, I'm totally cool with it.
Okay. You know, it does sort of, the focus does change, and you know, I mean, the great thing about it is I post every single day, and if you post every single day, you basically have some dogs and some good ones, and I'm just sort of forced to come up in the middle of the day with like, what am I thinking about today? What am I really thinking about? What I see that interested me, and then you just put it down. If it's bad, fine, it's gone the next day. You know, I find myself, you know, I teach up at Art Center, and I find myself having to explain to young people why Paul Rand had any relevance, or why Lester Beale actually did good work. Because at first glance, I look at it and be like, that's old, and you know, like, so I'm always having to sort of relate back. Okay, he was doing what you're doing now, or that's what this means here. And I mean, we were talking about the Civil Rights Act the other day, and they were like, "What's the big deal?" And I said, "Okay, that was the fight that we're fighting now about health care. It was that divisive. So think of it in those terms." So I think because I do that all the time, I just am naturally sort of making links to make things relevant. And it's not purposeful. I'm not like, you know, slaving away at my desk trying to come up with like, gee, this is just like that, you know. I mean, it just happens by accident. Like, I think yesterday I was talking about Ricky Nelson, and I was only talking about Ricky Nelson because my niece is obsessed with Zac Efron, and it drives me nuts because the kid won't comb his hair, and I'm like, comb your hair, and so I told Isabel, you should look at Ricky Nelson. He's really cool. And of course, she's just like, you are so square. Golly, you know? So, but I'm trying to say, like, well, look, he's just as cool as Zac Efron, but he's cooler because, you know, he combed his hair and, like, wore a tie. And so it's very
That's
square,
great, though, because it's one of those, like, it really points out the strength of one of the things we do, one of the talents that we have as creative professionals is we're really good at connecting the dots, you know, and that's part of the fun and the exploration that we have on our day-to-day activities is somebody comes to us with a problem and they're not maybe seeing their vision as clearly as they want to, and we can help them express themselves by helping them connect these dots and painting that picture. And that's really great that not only are you sharing your thoughts and sort of educating people on design and opening new doors and telling us stories that we might not know about, but you're also exercising that creative muscle every single day by posting every day. I think that's brilliant.
You know, it's such great fun. It's the favorite part of my day is actually sitting down and writing something for the blog. And you know, a couple days ago, I was swamped. I mean, I was like, I'm at school, then I get home, and I'm working on this Mohawk project, and I'm behind, and I barely had time to post anything, and I felt so guilty. I was like, I can't believe I didn't post anything today. I'm a terrible, terrible person. You know, I've got to get something up there. I really like, you know, I'll be driving into work in the morning and think, what am I interested in today? And I think one of the secrets I found, and if you don't have a blog, make one. It is so much fun, and it makes you a better writer because you've got to write every day. And I wouldn't have done it if it hadn't been for Terry Stone, you know, who we work with, the genius writer, you know, who came up with the idea and said you should do a blog. And it's really made me a better designer. I mean, I just feel like my visual vocabulary is much broader than it used to be. because you're having to think, like you said, all the time about, well, what am I inspired by? What do I see out there today that really is interesting in a new way? And the more non-designers we can get to look at that, the better. You know?
Definitely, totally agreed. And on that note, I'm going to get into 3 questions here that I've been trending with for the last handful of shows. As a designer, if you know, most likely, if you're a designer, you're working in a creative field, and maybe it's not even design, maybe it's writing or something like that. You are a consumer, also a consumer of design. You're inspired by interesting things. You're going to design blogs. You're participating in things that you're interested in. And one of the interesting things that's happening on the internet as a whole right now are the different tools that are popping up that let us filter our lives. They filter out the things that we don't want to hear, the junk, all the noise in the media and the BS and the people who think they know what they're talking about, but they're really idiots. And the things that we're interested in, we bring in, we allow into our lives, and we saturate and we absorb, and now we can communicate with them. What are the filters that you are currently using in your life to filter out the bad and bring in the good?
Can you give me an example?
Well, a filter can be any sort of tool on the web, or it can be a way of thinking about it. It can be a process or a certain number of sites that you log into in the morning, or anything like that.
Right. I guess I think of it in terms of, and not to deflect it from myself, but I think of it in terms of actually sort of the process I see my students go through, where it seems to be a much more immediate issue. I am close to brain dead, so I can only look at so many things, and that keeps me fairly, easy. And I'm a guy. I can think about one thing at a time, and that's, obviously, typically what most guys are, and so, but my students, at the beginning of every term, I have to basically say, you are not allowed to go to Google. You cannot Google all your assignments, because they will automatically. If I give an assignment, do holiday in New York, they'll go in and they'll Google holiday in New York, and they'll give me back the first 5 images that they got. And it's like, that's not a solution. That's editing. That's not even editing. That's just grabbing what's out there. And I've had actually people say to me, yeah, but it's online. That makes it right? I mean, that makes it good? I don't think so. And it's like, they don't seem to have that filter that is like, what makes something good or what makes something bad, or I gave this one young woman a book on Stieglitz's photography, and I said, okay, if you want good photography of New York in the 20s, look at this. And she's like, yeah, but I found these pictures on Flickr. Aren't they okay? I'm like, no, they're terrible. But they're on Flickr. What, Flickr is the curated site for all great photography? Like, it's great for a lot of things, but and so it's an issue. I mean, I'm always having to fight with them. Like, you cannot Google your solutions, and I argue a lot with them that they need to go to the library and spend time actually looking at, yes, this is true, books. There's a process, like, when you're looking for something, like, like, Ryan, I'm sure there've been times when you're like, gee, what was that Saul Bass project? I can't quite remember it. You go to your books shelf, and you pull out some books, and you're going through looking for that Saul Bass project, and then you come across some other thing that, like, Alvin Lustig designed, and you're like, wow, that is totally cool. You stumble onto other great things. And if you go to Google and you type in Saul Bass, you're going to get just that. You're walking through life with blinders on, and broadening your visual vocabulary and your inspiration. That's the exciting part, but I think it's a real challenge, and especially I find with younger students, because that's how they work. That's how they've always worked. Is, well, just Google it. It's so much easier, and of course it's easier, but you're not going to get the same result. Does that sound like a crazy tirade?
I guess we already have sort of an answer to the next question. Given if you read your blog, you sort of already know the answer to this. But one that I like to ask is, what's currently on your visual radar? What's something that's happening? It doesn't have to be on the web. It can be, outside of your house, or, a place that you pass every day. What's an interesting sort of, culturally specific or relevant visual thing that's happening in your life?
Lately I found that anytime I'm working on something, I somehow seem to stumble back to 1970. And not the 70s, but 1970, as in like 69, 70, somewhere in that range. And I don't know why. And it's like, for a while I'm like, why is that? Why am I keep finding myself attracted to that? Like there's this liquor store down the street from my house that I frequent often. No, it has the grooviest sign with the strangest groovy typeface. And they're going to tear it down, and I'm like, oh, that's so sad. And I went and I talked to the owner, and I was like, well, don't tear down your sign. It's so cool. What's up? And he's like, oh, we had it since 1970. We don't want it anymore. And but it's great, you know. And I was working on another project. I needed a color palette, and so I had been watching Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, the old one, with my nephew, and I was like, these colors are good. Wow, yeah, orange and purple and rust and avocado green, that's a good color palette. So I seem to keep finding myself back there, sort of being inspired by bits and pieces, even if I don't know what happened in 1970. Like I was watching Shampoo, the movie with Warren Beatty and Julie Christie recently, and I'm like, I love this movie. It's really a good movie. And it is a good movie. I mean, it's a great movie, you know. But I didn't realize it takes place in 1968. And I'm like, I thought it was made in the 70s. I'm like, yeah, it was, but it was placed then. And I think it's because, in my experience, society sort of feels like that right now, that it doesn't feel so... I think we're certainly at a place where people want change, and people are interested in being active, and but they also have the realization that only so much can happen, and that, you know, it's hard work. So it's sort of the same thing post-1968, I think, that America was going through, where it wasn't just an issue of like, hey, let's all get stoned and drop out, but let's be active, let's be responsible, let's see what we can do here. And I guess I just feel that a lot, and maybe it's just personally I feel that way, but yeah, that sounds sad that the biggest thing on my radar is my local liquor store sign, but that seems to be about it.
It's not sad at all. I think you need to go down there and actually try to buy that sign off of them and, you know, find a way to repurpose it, you know?
I know, it's so
What does the sign
nice.
say?
It says Liquor Barn, and it's like got this cool squirrely sort of
That's awesome.
type, and it's like orange and pink, and I'm like, what a great sign! What's wrong with you? And you know they're gonna put up a nice,
it needs to be a segment
sign.
of Burning Settler's Cabin. The Liquor Barn is
I know, I gotta
Burning
go down
Settler's
there.
Cabin.
The Liquor Barn, yeah, exactly. And every night I put up the nice sign. It'll have some copper plate or something. It'll be like, you know, nice green and beige, and you know, it'll be boring. Like the world needs a lot of big, bright, flashy, gaudy signs.
So last question from me for tonight is, do you have a guilty pleasure website that you visit every day?
Go to every day. Yes, and it's not because I have I don't know how to do any of this stuff. There's a site called Kathy of California that I love, that is so cool, and it's got the most amazing, totally groovy craft items that you know you would never think about doing. And the woman that runs it has this remarkable sense of color and texture and just finding the most incredible objects. And I don't go there thinking, oh wow, I need to know how to make a felt mushroom and pin sequins on it. I don't know how to do that, but it's just like, wow, cool colors, you know, and it's just a great site. I mean, she just has amazing things on it, and I stop by every day, and I feel terrible. I always write her little notes. Oh, I love your site. Oh, you know, I think she thinks I'm stalking her now, that I'm trying to track her down. You know?
I love your site. I'm outside your window. Come wave at me.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I liked what you wore this morning when you got out of the shower.
You weirdo.
I know.
So now we're going to transition to the next part of the chat where we're going to take some audience questions. Just in case you guys didn't notice, a couple notes. We do have a Twitter account called DesignChat Links, which our good man Andrew Tibbetts is running right now. He's in the chat. So as we're talking about things, he puts them in the chat room, and then they also live on the Twitter account afterwards. So if you're thinking of something and you want to, you're telling somebody about the story, you can go back to twitter.com/DesignChatLinks, and all the links will be there. So again, tonight we've got a new interface for these questions. We're going to see how it goes. You can submit a text question, and then we'll prove it, and we'll pop it up on the screen, which we're about to start doing now. Or you can ask to submit a video question, and you populate it with, give me an idea of what you're going to ask, and then you can come on live video. Come on, I want at least one video question tonight. I know it's a little bit weird to pop on video, but let's try new things. Let's reach out, and you're never going to explore anything or learn anything new unless you do something that you're uncomfortable with. So on that note, please submit some video questions. We'll get you on in just a second. We've got another 15 or 20 minutes to do this chat here. So first question tonight from Michael Pino asks, what do you see yourself being most inspired by?
Boy, that's a good one, because there's so many things that I know everybody says the same damn thing. If like you ever ask anyone, a speaking engagement, what inspires you? Everyone says, well, everything in the world inspires me. I love a baby that's crying, and I love puppies. There's, I would say I'm not so much inspired by going through design magazines and sort of looking at oh, here's a cool book. I mean, yeah, I see stuff and I think it's really cool, but I often think, well, that's that person's vision, and I don't do that. But I'm impressed. A lot of it's by lately film. It seems like I'll watch something and really be like, wow, they tackled a subject that's really, really interesting and or really disturbing. I have a project at Art Center. The final assignment that I give for my first year class is to design a poster with the most offensive image they can come up with, and I'm going to get fired very soon for giving that assignment, but I get some great ones. And the other day I was watching this extraordinarily disturbing movie by Todd Solondz, Happiness. If you've seen it, it's disturbing, and I was like, well, this is great. I gotta tell my kids to watch this, and I'm like, can I tell him to watch that? I'm not sure. So, but that one really inspired me to like sort of ratchet up the offensive project and make it work harder, make it more offensive. So hopefully that answers that. And I do like puppies.
Totally.
And babies.
Back. So we're going to drop the question and stick with me while I'm learning how to do what I do. All right, we're both back. Okay.
Yep.
Next question here is from Gaston Boyle. Brand implementing, it's easier for a TV network, and if it's lifespan shorter. I'm not sure if that's a question. In brand implementing, is it easier for a TV network, or if the lifespan of the brand is shorter?
The thing I found in television is that, and someone told me who was one of the founders of MTV, really early on, he said, if it's right on television for 15 minutes, you've done your job. And in a way, it's kind of true, because once you've sort of like figured out a system, pulled it together, written the manual, okay, everyone's on track, we've got everyone working on the same idea now, everyone uses the same language, they've got a system they can work with, you release it, and then of course designers are designers. They're going to do with it what they do. And I sort of say, we build a branding system and it's a skeleton, someone else breathes life into it. But of course invariably things start creeping in that you did not intend. And so I sort of learned from that to let go really fast. Like, I've done my job, I turn it over, other people take it on and do what they want with it. And then, television also has this concept that they need to rebrand every 2-3 years. And it was actually one of the biggest challenges when we were working with networks, which was don't. It's fine to reface. That's one thing, like come up with a new look or a new slogan, but you don't want to rebrand. Brands live over time. But I think it's just that world where it's very immediate and things happen very quickly, that it's like, oh, it's been forever. It's been 18 months since we changed our logo. Let's do it again. so it's frustrating, but at the same time, it was a great lesson to sort of say, okay, I've done my job, time to move on, and and not get furious. I think all of us have our favorite things that once they're gone, you're like, why? Why did they drop that? Why? What happened to the old UPS logo? Things like that. So.
Well, I'm very excited to say we've got some video questions lining up here, so we're going to start taking them.
Cool.
We're going to jump on. Actually, hold on one second. I'm seeing we got a problem. Are we good with the screen cap, guys? Are we still good? Just going to confirm real quick, just making sure. All right, we're still good. All right, we're going to jump. Dan Shapiro, let's bring him on right now.
Okay. You guys see me? Hey.
Yep, go ahead.
Okay. So, when working, what cultural elements do you like to incorporate in your visual style? You were talking about 1970 for a little bit. Is there anything about that particular time period, 69, 70, that you like to bring into your personal work?
Yeah, I think so. I think in that instance, there's definitely sort of this sense of color that was. I'd love to say, oh, it was adventurous, but it wasn't. It was subversive, and I love the idea that you're utilizing color that is actually subversive in nature. That when people were designing posters for the Fillmore movement in San Francisco, they were doing it on acid, and so that's why those colors are so trippy, for no pun intended. But I really like that. I really like that idea that color could be subversive and it could be utilized in an interesting way. And so I think I'll pick up some of those elements and drag them in. And someone asked recently, well, what's with the retro thing, which I hate. I'm just always like, I didn't do anything retro. And then someone will say, well, yeah. And I'm like, okay, all right, I'll cop to it. But a lot of it has to do with that. And I'm giving away a trick of the trade here, but I think that you can seduce people into a message much easier if they can relate to the forms, the iconography and the typography. If they don't feel threatened by it, it looks like something familiar that they might recognize, they're much more apt to become involved with the actual message. And then that frees you up to actually make messages that are a little bit more subversive, that actually have different content than maybe what it looks like at first glance. And so I think that's sort of where some of that gets picked up. It's like, if I make, the idea is to seduce, not repulse the audience, and if I do something that utilizes something that you might think, oh, I love that, you're going to be much more willing to get involved. And then once you're in the piece, I can then turn on, okay, here's something maybe you didn't think about.
Great. Next question is from Eva. We're going to bring her on. Eva, you're good. You've got a blank screen. Okay, now we can see
Eva.
you. Ask your question.
Groovy clock.
I love Matt. What's that?
Groovy clock in your background.
Oh, thank you. It's one of my prized possessions. Very 1960s.
Yeah.
Anyway,
We're having some
Very
trouble
nice.
hearing you, actually. Can you either speak up or
yeah,
lean forward a little bit?
Put myself up somewhere, I wonder. Let's see. Let's try that. Better? Better?
No, we can barely hear you, but go ahead and ask your question.
Okay. I'm gonna try to lean in, so maybe you'll miss my clock. So I love Mad Men. I think it's brilliant, except for the lame cops they show for the period. What do you think? Have you noticed that too?
Yes. Like, there've been so many times I've been like, I need to find out who is making that thing and help them. There is just those tragic marker comps. Like, who knows? Maybe that's what it was like. But, whoa. Bad. I mean, they're worse than the Darren Stevens ads, Like, remember the Darren Stevens one where it was like for a bank and it was a bunch of bugs walking into a bank? He's like, oh, all little creatures love this bank. Like, what's that mean? Like, but no, I totally agree with you. I mean, the Mad Men episode with the carousel, of course, genius. Who knew that's why it was called the carousel? And I love that. And I do love the fact that all the awards that are on their walls are actual awards from that time. Because I actually have a bunch of those. I didn't win myself, but I have a bunch of those awards. I'm like, that is indeed a 1962 Art Director's Annual Award. That is amazing, that they match that. My good friend Bonnie Siegler was on the set a few months ago, and I begged her to give me photos, but she said she couldn't. It was breaking rules, and I'm probably breaking rules by saying this, but she said it was a remarkable set, that if you open the file cabinets, that they had Sterling Cooper files in the file cabinets. And if you open the secretary's drawers, there would be Sterling Cooper stationery in there, ready to go. So it's stuff you never even see, but it's so precise and down to the minute. I was impressed by that they that much detail. But the marker comps, yes, falling down on the job, marker cops, they need some help with that.
Mad Men definitely comes up on the show from time to time, and we've got a 1 degree separation from them because we had on an illustrator by the name of Dinah Moe. She's in New York, and she's the girl who did all of the illustrations for the Mad Men Yourself website and promotions for the last 2 years. And she definitely had a lot of cool perspectives, on the show. And she was showing us, some of the things that she had received as, for working on the show, and the promotional items that they had. Brilliant. So if you guys are at all interested in that, look back in the catalog of Design Chat episodes. Look for Dynamo. I think it was around episode in the 20s, early 20s, something like that. Definitely very cool.
No,
thank you.
It's such a great show.
Eva, thank you for asking the question. Yeah. Totally.
I need to find out who is in charge.
Yes, and let's award them. It's awesome. You know what? Let's do that. Let's find out who's in charge of Mad Men. I want them on Design Chat.
Invite them, yes.
We'll talk to them. We're bringing the design community. Next one is Mig Reyes. I'd like to bring him on right now. Mig, I hope you're ready. Yes. Hey, Mig Reyes.
Yeah, how's it going, Ryan and Sean?
Good.
How's
How
it going?
are you?
All right,
Mr.
Sean,
founder
I'm great.
of Humble Pied.
Yes.
First, tell us about Humble Pied.
So, Sean,
really quick. Tell us what you do with that, Mig.
Oh, sure. Well, basically what I do is I interview for about a minute or two inspiring creative types like yourself, Sean, and ask them a quick question. What would your one bit of advice be to a young, fledgling creative? And I've been gathering tips from all sorts of people, and I hope to have you on the site one day.
I'd love to, absolutely.
So,
it's a very cool collection.
So,
of
Sean,
videos.
my
I
quick
love what
question.
You're doing, Mig, man. It's awesome.
Thanks, Ryan, and I love your show as well. So I think this whole video concept is really great. But Sean, my question for you is, how has your personal workload and your involvement with AIGA been affected or changed or bettered in after passing the torch to the always wonderful Debbie Millman?
Good question. I love Debbie. I mean, she's remarkable. And, you're always scared about, oh, wow, we've made so much progress and we've gotten so many programs moving along. And I've sort of, I was able to, sort of throw up a whole bunch of stuff in the air that had been lodged for a long time and bring in screen-based designers and really focus on stuff. And you think, once I'm gone, is this just going to be unraveled, and someone's going to take it apart? But Debbie just took it and made it 10 times better. And she's a dynamo. I mean, she's on crack or something, because I don't know how she does that. I think I have a ton of energy, and then I just get these emails from Debbie at all hours. I'm in an airport in Des Moines. I'm like, Debbie, what are you doing? But I felt so comfortable turning everything over to her, and it was such a natural progression. And I was really honored that she agreed, that she said yes, because it's a hard job, and I think she knew it was going to be a hard job, and she took it on, and she has such grace, and it's really, but boy, what a huge load off. That was amazing. The day that I turned that over, I was like, I feel like $1 million. Wow. I loved it. It was a fantastic part of my life. But when I didn't have to do it anymore, all of a sudden I had all this time. And so I could actually make my blog and do other things and take on another day at Art Center. And, if I were smart, I would have just done less. But no, I just filled the void with multiple other things to do. But I couldn't be, thank God Debbie's there, because she's so smart and so great. And her and Rick working together, what a team. People do not give that guy enough credit, that he is amazing. I'm sure many of you have worked with other nonprofit organizations, and a lot of times the executive directors are just nitwits. And Rick's smart and committed, and he keeps it moving. And I mean, I learned so much from him, and I really felt lucky to have him. But yeah, I'm gonna have to call Debbie and tell her how much I love her. I think she's already worried because I went to her house and saw her
we love Debbie too.
Took a picture of it. Mm-hmm. She's pretty cool.
We love Debbie too, and she's definitely an inspiration for what we do as DesignChat. And if you're listening, if you ever hear this, Debbie, we love you, and we want you to come on the show and hang out with us. Just very inspiring on all the work she's done with. I can't believe I'm blanking live in the air on her show.
Right. Right. Design Matters.
Design Matters. Duh. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like a guy, I can only concentrate on one thing, and I've got 5 things in front of me. I've got 5 more questions, 6 more questions coming on, so we're going to keep on going. From Andrew Colin, what do you do when you feel like your imagination is being blocked?
Well, that would be a daily occurrence. That really does happen all the time, and honestly, it happens all the time. It's amazing to me that I can still actually go to work because I just think I am such a crappy designer. I can't think of anything half the time, and I think like, oh wow, I should call someone who's really good and ask them what would you do, but I think I usually stop and try to go back to my very first thought. Like I'm working on a project right now for Mohawk Via, and I've been laboring over the thing, which I really tell people never to do. I say, look, if you're laboring over it, something's wrong. Just going over it and back and forth and having this huge amount of self-doubt on the thing and stuff. And then, I think it was, I don't know, a couple days ago, I was sort of sitting in the car and I thought, you know what? I'm going to go back to my very first idea. I am chickening out here. That's what's happening. I'm starting to second guess myself. I'm starting to think, well, will the client like this? Will the client not like that? Will I? And I said, I'm going to go back and do what I think's right. And because everybody has that same experience where you first get a project and right away you think about, oh, it could be so cool if it's like this, or maybe an hour later you're talking to somebody and they say, hey, what if it's this would be totally cool. And so I sort of try to get back to that, to my first impulse, and be a little fearless about it. And it's like I say, if you're gonna fail big. Don't do it in tiny ways. Mm-hmm. Like if you're gonna mess it up. Like you got to do what you believe in. And in that instance, I'm lucky. I mean, Mohawk's a fantastic client, and I've worked with them for 15 years, and they know what I do. And if they don't like it, I'll just get a call saying, "What are you on? Come on, But
that's great advice, though, because like if you constantly operate out of fear, you're stagnant and you're frozen, and you're not going to make any moves. And you're definitely not only you're not going to make any moves, you're not going to make any bold moves that anybody's going to see or recognize or care about. Yeah.
I mean, if you find yourself sitting at the computer and you're moving a piece of type back and forth, between one pica to the left, one pica to the right, it's not working. Yeah. Something is bigger and wrong.
Great advice. Next question from Megan Witzke. What's your opinion on the state of graphic design writing and criticism?
These are hard questions, darn. Like, you really should ask the easy ones, These are the ones that get me into trouble. That then everybody's like, I heard what you said. I'm coming to get you. I think that there are some people, I think people like Bill Drentel and Jessica Helfand at Winter House are miraculous, and that they support design writing as strongly as they do, and that I think they've really worked hard to put design criticism on the map and to make it viable. There's a lot of design criticism that I read that is just phony baloney. Okay, like no way around it. I mean, I would love to say that I'm illiterate and I just can't understand conceptual thinking, but that's not true. And half the time I read it and I think this is just someone working too hard. Speak in plain English. Speak in a way that everyone else can read this. It's pretentious to do anything else. And Bill and Jessica, I think, are so great at filtering really writing criticism that has meaning, that it's not just, 50,000 SAT words, linked together. So, I really, it's because of people like them, and of course, obviously, like Stephen Heller, who is relentlessly supportive and writing about design. But I think it's in a really good place, and I'm pissed off that Jessica and Bill won't ask me to judge the Winterhouse Awards, because they think I can only read I don't know, a cookbook or a surfing manual, but I think they're doing a fantastic job, and it's in a great place.
Well, I hope that message reaches them, and then they change their mind.
Yeah, probably they won't. They're like, oh, he's an idiot. Forget it. It's the price you pay
Sean,
for being from LA.
Right. We've got 5 more questions here. We're going a little bit over our time. I totally understand that. If you want to stick around and ask those questions, great. If you got to go, we understand.
Great. No, I'm fine. I'm here for you.
Great. Let's keep on going. From Laura Galindo, do you do any kind of experimental or artistic work?
Well, yes and no. I don't do anything that would sort of fall in the lines of sort of like I have a painting studio and I do giant Jackson Pollock paintings, or like most old designers, after they retire, they just do paintings of naked women. I'm not doing that. I am working on a project that I've been working on for, I think, 3 years now, and it's obsessive and problematic, but and it's sort of a long story, but I'll do it quickly. A few years ago, my niece Isabel was asked to go to school for Heritage Day, dressed as, everyone in class had to come as where you're from, where your family's from, and dress in your native land's clothing style or outfit, and bring a dish from your native land. So, people, they wore like kimono and brought like, sushi or something, or they had like these sort of like, Mexican outfits and brought enchiladas and stuff. And so Isabel wanted to go as Pocahontas. And so she got her Pocahontas outfit and brought an apple pie. And that was all hunky-dory, except the teacher said, you failed the assignment. And she was like, why? She said, you needed to come as it's for Heritage Day. And she said, but Pocahontas is a great-great-great-grandmother of mine. And she's like, no, it doesn't count. You have to come with someone from your... So, we felt bad for poor Isabel that, that didn't fly for her. And then she was mad at us, like my brother and I, and she said, you lied to me. You lied to me to embarrass me, which is, yes, something I would do. But in that instance... Well, come on. I mean, how much fun it is to embarrass teenage girls. I mean, that's what you live for, right? And so, she said, well, I don't believe you. And I have all of these stupid family books that have been passed down generation after generation after generation that basically list everybody who married anybody and who their kids were and what they did. And there's all these thousands of notations in there. Oh, that's Uncle Josh or that's Cousin George or whatever. And I thought, well, I'll just give one of these to Isabel, but it's pointless. It's like incredibly dense information written in this sort of 18th and 19th century language. So I said, I'll make a chart. I'm a designer, right? I can make charts. And so I started diagramming out basically her lineage from starting with her and then working back to Pocahontas. And it would have been fine except for the fact that during most of the 18th or 17th and 18th century, my family seemed to like to intermarry quite a bit. So it became this crazy cobweb of relationships that I am continually working on, trying to unravel and piece back together. And I just started working with Brian Boyle up at Art Center, who's helping me build the interactive version of it, where I can actually move through it three-dimensionally, because it's not so simple that like, oh, so-and-so had so-and-so, and that was their parents and their parents. It was like, yeah, they had so-and-so, but then their sister married the previous husband, and that husband then married the cousin, and then they got married, and there's this like, I should have two heads. It's like enormous amounts of inbreeding. And It was like there were 10 families in Virginia that just kept intermarrying each other over and over and over again. So, so Isabel still doesn't believe it. I showed her the chart. She's like even more confused. But that is the thing I work on endlessly is my crazy interactive chart that I'm like, I don't know where it's going or what I'm going to do with it, but it's fun. I've learned all kinds of terrible things about things my family did.
That sounds really exciting, though, like to think of a family chart in 3 dimensions, you know, and then so now you've got the z-axis, which is now time, and that you can sort of experience as it happens, however dizzying as it may be, you know, it would help to understand that sort of thing.
You know, and
next question is from,
interestingly, I mean, a lot of those people that are on there, a lot of, you know, distant uncles and grandparents and things, were founding fathers. And so I want to tie in the historical aspect also. Like, well, this is what they did, and this impacted this. And it's not, so it's not just people and who they gave birth to. So yeah, it's an incredibly dense, complicated project.
Well, you'll definitely have to tweet it out or put it on your blog when that 3-dimensional, when the interactive version comes out. I'd love to see that.
Yeah, that'll ruin my credibility forever, but yeah.
Next question comes from Gary Holmes. Sean, have you ever fired a client? And
that's one of our favorite things to do. Yes, absolutely. You know, that is, boy, I mean, you know, yeah, we have. And it's not because we're like uber wealthy and can just do anything we want. It's because bad people know bad people, and they will only lead you to other bad people. So if we find that we have a client that we're working with that treats us badly or without any sense of respect, and it doesn't mean like I want someone to come in and call me, you know, yes sir, and bow to me, but I don't expect to be yelled at, and I don't appreciate people just treating anyone on my staff with disrespect. It's not going to fly. And so we have, I think the last one that we fired, and we don't do it meanly. It's not like I call them up and tell them I'm going to break your kneecap and or anything like that. You know, we're usually like, you know, we're not the right firm for you anymore, and I can refer you to some other people that might be more appropriate. But the last one was this guy that really was a hothead, and we'd worked with him for a long time, and just one too many times he called and he yelled at Noreen. And if you fear for your life, you will not yell at Noreen. If you've met her, you know, do not yell at her. Like, that's it. I'm scared. And so I've never yelled at her. And she got off the phone. I'm like, she's beat red. And so yeah, I sent him a note and said, I don't think this is working out. But we deserve to be treated with respect. Creative people are enormously rare. I mean, we take for granted what we do because we do it every day. And we know people that do it. But such a tiny percentage of the population can be creative and do what we do, and we should be rewarded for that appropriately, and there is no reason for anyone to yell at you except your mother. So yes, we have fired people, and we'll continue to do that.
Last question of the night from Canon Yayo. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Sean, where can we view your portfolio work, and what's your most recognizable design work?
Well, the best place to go is www.AdamsMorioka.com. The site's divided into 2 sections. There's one section which is primarily case studies, and potential clients like to go there because it's sort of long stories about how we did something and why we did it. And then there's an entire archive section, which really almost everything except for the truly ugly stuff ends up in. And check out the archive section. Everything's in there. It's probably not up to date because, like everyone's website, we're always running behind. The most recognizable, I think Nickelodeon was recognizable for a lot of people, and most recently the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, their identity. And so if you watch the Academy Awards, you saw it, not the type treatment, but the actual Academy's identity. It's funny, there's always a gap. I mean, there's a lot of, it's just, you know, a lot of different bits and pieces, but for me, I think most recently it would be the Academy, just because, you know, they've been such a big part of our lives for the last year, and we're having such a fantastic time working with them.
So you've got AdamsMorioka.com, you've got your Burning Settlers cabin blog. You've also got your Twitter account, which is Sean A. Adams. at Sean A. Adams. What other outlets can we sort of interact with you on, or are there any other networks that you're
yeah, there's
sort of
there's
participating in?
my Facebook page, so you can go to the Facebook page, and I think most of the people that go there are a lot of them are my family members. So there's sort of like a ton of historical family images in there for my niece. A lot of AIGA stuff. Anytime I go to an event or something, it usually gets posted up there. And then of course our books. I've written about 4 books, and color design workbook, logo design workbook, and the Masters of Design series that are all by Rockport, so you can buy those. There's a series of video podcasts at adobe.com. But I don't know, it's everywhere. We're like media whores, we sort of show up like we'll go to the opening of a drawer. So, we're all over the place.
What was really great about those Adobe videos was I think the more that you watch them, you start to see how your relationship with Noreen works. And you start to observe, because you start to argue during the middle of them, and you kind of see there's the pause, and then the facial reaction, and then the thought that comes out, and it's sort of like it's this cool introspective into what it might be like to be in your office, something like that. I really thought that was interesting.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, no, I really liked. I had a great time doing them, and the director did do such a great job of capturing our relationship, and you can imagine it's fun for about 5 minutes, but try living with it like our staff does 8 hours a day, and you'd be like, no, it's like Satan's workshop. I could never work there. It's
Well, you know what? I think a lot of designers would want to be in your office and experiencing the work that you guys do. Really, hats off to you guys, all the work that you guys do over there at AdamsMorioka. Golf clap. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Sean, so much for coming out.
No, thank you, Ryan. I mean, hey, I mean, kudos to you. This takes your time, and it's a lot of energy. And in the end, you're not promoting yourself, you're promoting other designers. And that's hey, no good deed will go unpunished, believe me. But God bless you. I mean, that's a good thing to do.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Really love the sort of, and I hate to use the term, but journey of what DesignChat is sort of becoming, and the community that it's bringing together. And you know what? I mean, it's at the same time that it's serving up to the community and serving the community, there are selfish reasons. I get to talk to you, man. There's no way on earth, unless, maybe I was at an AIGA event, right? And then I'm sitting there with a drink, and you're over there, and then I might walk over and say, "You're awesome," right? And then that's the end of the conversation. You're like, "Yeah, that's cool." And you're like, "Who's that guy?" That's what the interaction would have been. But now I have, more than an hour and 16 minutes of great conversation with you that I wouldn't have had otherwise. So, I mean, yeah, it definitely benefits me too. So I love the design community, but I get something out of it too.
Good. Well, I will harass Debbie for you. It's a two-way street. I get to talk to you, and that's the high point of my day. It's a good one. So, and
that'd be awesome
I'll
if you
Debbie
said something
to
Debbie. Oh, that's great.
Oh, I'll threaten her.
That's totally cool.
I'm sure I have blackmail photos. I have her in pajamas.
What?
I'm sorry. That's a long story. But
one more time, closer to the microphone. Just so it's on record.
Right. Yes. Yes, I do have a photo of Debbie in her pajamas.
Really?
Yeah.
That could come.
Yeah, but I won't release it unless she refuses to talk to you.
Well, see, that's your bait. So once again, thank you to Sean. Thank you to Samada Mason for letting us broadcast from their offices. Check them out, samadamason.com. And this is DesignChat. We will see you guys in the future. Check us out on Facebook and also our Twitter account at DesignChat. And I'm at Hoopajube. Again, my name is Ryan McGovern. Thank you and good night.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you so much. Good night.
Good night, everybody.